of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, so just if members of the public are thinking and used to traditional meetings, we are doing our presentation first, and then we will be accepting public comment. So I'm not skipping that. We're just letting the presentation happen first. Brian, take it away.
All right, well, thank you all for being here tonight. I'm going to try my best not to turn and talk because I know sometimes you can't hear me. So I'm going to stay focused and look forward. I'm going to look at Bruce the whole time. He's my, So, once again, no matter what we do with budgeting around budgeting, we always start with our strategic outcomes. Back in the school year 18-19, we developed a 5-year strategic plan. That happened during COVID, so we did some retweaking of that. But during that time, we came out with some SMART goals. No matter what happens with staffing, schools, budget, we still need to have strategic outcomes so we know what's going on. I'm not going to read all of these to you, but I just want to highlight the first one is about assessing the climate. Number 2 is implementing a range of evidence-based academic approaches, interventions, and educational programs. The third one is to have a multi-year capital improvement plan. And I'll give you a minute just to read those if you are reading them. Number 4, school committee will support a long-term plan that prioritizes operational expenses. When we talked about this back in 18-19, we talked about mental health, technology, facilities, and professional development. Engaging all students pre-K to 12, and annually assessing students' positive engagement in academics, extracurricular activities, school life, and the Belchertown community. So I wanted to let everybody know that we're currently in the process of working with a consultant from the Collaborative for Educational Services, Dr. Albert Musad Johnson. He helped us with our first strategic plan. We have a group of parents, educators that are now developing a plan for the next 5 years, because this will end in June of 2025. Just some important notes. This presentation includes new information received and confirmed recently regarding health insurance, bus routes, tuitions. So any budget figures that were in previous presentations will not match what we have in here because we're updating. As we know from all budgets within the town, schools, towns, everybody, budgets are always changing. We're always getting new information. All staffing reductions refer to positions, and it has to do with seniority and licensure. And I get nervous about this. I don't want you walking away thinking, oh, that might be my position. Ask. I know that we informed some staff on Friday. I know that was a hard day for everybody in the district. We appreciate your patience, and we understand it's tough for everybody. But please know it's changing constantly. And then there's a website you can go to see all past presentations. And I will link this website. We'll post it as soon as we're done with it tonight. Just how we got here, a brief review. We know that enrollment has declined. But as I talked about before, we also have increased significantly student needs. Annual budget increases have not kept up with inflation. Between 2015 and 2025, the school department's budget allocation rose 24.73%, and inflation rose 37.34%. Revenue is insufficient to maintain current services. The district has been successful in finding cost savings and efficiencies over the years. We've been talking about this for 5 years. And we have the lowest per pupil expenditure rate in the area. And, that is calculated through DESE. We didn't make that up. They do it for all districts. We'll talk a little bit about that in the coming slides. And however, even with the cost-saving measures, there is no way forward without either increasing revenue or making sizable cuts to services. Those are where we're at. I talked about this in the past. English language learners, 400% increase. Students with disability, 18%. Pre-K students, 237. Students with autism, 129. Chronic absenteeism. Students experience anxiety and mental health challenges. You can ask any teacher in this room, any nurse. I think they would agree with all of these statistics. Per pupil expenditure. In FY23, the average district in Massachusetts spent $21,377.40 per pupil. Belchertown spent $17,464.66. So whether we like it or not, out of 310 public and vocational districts, Belchertown is ranked number 282. So that means we're in the 9th percentile, meaning 91% of Massachusetts districts spend more money per pupil than Belchertown. Belchertown at a crossroads. So Belchertown residents will soon decide whether to invest in our community by approving the override. So I'm going to mix things up here a little bit. As of right now, we have an annual town meeting on May 12th and a town election on May 19th. And voters will have a chance to invest in maintaining key services in the town and in the school district. We're one, the town and the schools. This is investment for both. However, in talking to Steve today, there is a possibility that the town meeting will be changed to the end of the month in May. So I would kind of have everybody be on the lookout for any notices that come out. I know in speaking with Steve that we will post it around town. I will post it through my communication systems. The town will do it at the same time. And there's different reasons for that, but I think we all agreed that this is probably the best way of rolling this out, so everybody feels comfortable with that. I don't know if you want to say.
Well, I think you could mention we're going to try to do it outside under.
Oh yeah, we're going to try to do it outside under a tent on a Saturday, possibly May 31st. That way, everybody will be in one location. There won't be two separate locations, and everybody will be hearing the same message and making sure that everything goes smoothly. So the district is planning for both situations. The presentation will detail what the FY26 budget looks like with and without this investment. So, March 27th, the school committee voted to request an additional new investment of $1,636,236. This is less than past inflation-adjusted budgets. It is less than the original level service request due to new information. For the average Belchertown homeowner, the education, this is only the education-related portion of the new investment, would cost less than $1 a day. That's only including the schools. There was some conversation about the town, so just make sure we have to add that on. I don't want anybody to walk away and say, well, Brian said it was less than $1 a day. That's just for this, because when I was presenting this, I was worried about the schools. The district believes that with this added investment, we can continue to offer most of the services Belchertown families have come to expect. So with this new investment, we will be able to address immediate funding crisis by doing the following. Ensure the continuation of most current school programs and electives. Maintaining current grade and school configurations with class sizes roughly similar to today. preserve support for student needs by preventing 30-plus layoffs, most of which are student-facing roles, allowing time to explore reorganization, reduction, and regionalization. So the $1,600,000 that we talked about for the new investment, it was a initial cost cut from the schools of $603,000. That came from, this was a blessing that occurred within a couple of weeks for us. We had 3 students that were going to be placed out of district. 2 of them are moving back to their hometown, so we don't have to foot that cost, and 1 is moving to another state. So that means we are saving $300,000 right there. We had talked about, and we are continuing to move forward with or without the investment, IT director, which is an admin position, is retiring. We are restructuring, so we will not have an IT director. We will be making some shifts within that department, and educational technology will shift to the assistant superintendent and the data administrator because they do some of that now. So they're going to be taking on that. So we are going from 3 individuals to 2 in the IT department. The food service director, which is also an admin position, we are reducing because we are the elimination of the grant reduced summer responsibilities. So we don't qualify for summer eats anymore, so we're going to reduce that. The Javish Brook French teacher. We have been struggling to find a French teacher at the high school for probably throughout the entire year. We have posted 5 times, and we are not getting a candidate that feels comfortable. So we are going to take the French teacher from Jabish and move him to the high school so we can continue those students that have started French and continue their education to finish out French. But there's a big question mark there. French may be discontinued in the next couple of years because there's just not enough students. And I think we owe it to the students that are in that class right now to do what we can do to have them finish. The Cold Springs specials teacher, she's a generalist, so she teaches art, gym, music, all of that. She is going to be going into a teaching position, and then the specialist at Swift River and Chestnut Hill have times in their schedules to go down, and they're going to be going down and providing specials to Cold Springs if Cold Springs stays open, or at the other end, we'll be going to Jabish Brook to provide some services there. We eliminate 1 bus route that saved us $89,000, and the Tagil savings was about $7,000. We are giving back Tagil to the town. Our IT has moved out of there. It's flooded several times. I know the town's IT has moved out of there too. So we're going to see what we can do with Tagil, whether, I believe there might be a feasibility study on saying what could we do with that, hopefully to generate more revenue in the town. So I always like to share this because it's just the way that we report to DESE. And with that $600,000 savings, that brings the total request for FY26 down to the $35 million, which is a 6.92% increase. For all of you, in the past couple of days, I just want to spend a couple of seconds on this because I think people are doing a great job trying to make assumptions and put things together, but administration is not administrators, not all the salaries. It's superintendents, it's the business office, it's central office supplies, it's copiers, it's thing about administration. Instruction is educator salaries, classroom supplies, curriculum. Health, transportation is nurses, transportation, including athletics. operations, custodial salaries, supplies, utilities, it's all in there. Benefits, this is a huge one. Health insurance, workers' comp, unemployment, Medicaid. As you can see, that was a huge increase. The 700 category, we had a lease on a truck. And then the last one's tuition, and that's sped, tuition, private, collaborative. And so that just gives you a little breakdown of that. Federal grants. A lot of these are entitlement grants. That means we get the Title II every year. We get the 240 grant, special education, the 262, the 305, that's Title I, that's a federal grant, the 309, the CSHC is the nursing grant that we get. The drug-free community really could be a competitive grant because that's more of a competitive grant. We do that in collaboration with the town. We house them at central office. I am the sign-off of the business person for that grant. And I think we all have seen the excellent work they've done across the town. We don't have the relief fund for the coronavirus anymore. We don't have ESSER, so all of those go. So these are our competitive grants. So this is someone at Central's office, job, an administrator at Central office. Job is to look and to find grants. So since 2020, we have found $1,795,935 worth of grants in order to do. Some of those are PD grants. Some of those are in 2024, we got a new math series. We got a grant matching the money 50-50. That's why that number's so high. And then we drop down to 2025 because that grant is no longer there. So we're always looking for grants to offset what we do in the district. School choice budget plan. Listen, I'm the first to admit school choice doesn't always fix the problems. But my problem is we have so many expenses, operational expenses in school choice, that when you start cutting school choice, where is the operational money going to go? If we can't already maintain what we're doing, where are these things going to go? So we try to bring it down each year, and that's our plan for that. Revolving funds, these are all revolving funds. People pay, goes in, goes back into athletics, band, building rental, bus fees, circuit breakers for special education, parking fees, and school choice. So those are limited on what we use. Okay, so the voted amount with this new investment, we would be, the school committee would be voting in $480,859. The town allocation is the $33,844,000, meaning the difference of the $1.6 million. So if we got the override for the schools, we would be equal. So the only thing that would be eliminated out of that are these things that we already talked about, whether we get it or not. These things are out of the budget. We said we could live without these. We're going to do this. Now, the hard part. If Belchertown voters decide not to invest in the town and district service, schools will be forced to quickly make significant cuts. The budget would increase only by $659,227 from the FY25 budget allocation. This is less than the inflation rate, and it doesn't even cover health insurance for the employees that work in the school, which will be $815,770. So we can't even cover health insurance. We still have to do the increase in transportation. We still have to do the increase in tuition. and student needs. So this is where we're kind of struggling a little bit. It's no longer possible to make cuts with minimal impact to students. The following slides provide specific details about FY26 looks like at the funding level of $33,844,623. So this, I want to be clear about this. This includes the closure of Cold Springs and the realignment of grades 3 and 6 in this. And this would be done in a very short time. So this would be done over the summer. So without the investment, we are cutting a kindergarten teacher, a first grade teacher, a second grade teacher, a third grade teacher, a fourth grade teacher, a fifth grade teacher, a sixth grade teacher. You have the class size increase to 21, 17%. I'm not going to go through it all. You can all see it up there. Am I going too fast? We are eliminating the reading specialist at Swift River Elementary. We are eliminating the reading specialist at Chestnut Hill. We are eliminating the CHCS band teacher because that means that third grade would come here, sixth grade would go to Jabesh, so sixth grade band would start in sixth grade, so fifth grade would be losing out on having band. With larger class sizes. We're eliminating the 0.4 FTE at music at Jabesh. And we will be getting rid of the Jabesh Spanish teacher. This is why we have to give up the foreign language, world language at Jabesh because we need the spaces. If we're going to close Cold Springs, and I know, there might be some people that think there's space and we can do it. We can only do it by laying off all these people. A English teacher at the high school, a science teacher at the high school, a history teacher at the high school, and a Spanish teacher at the high school. That means there's going to be larger class sizes and fewer electives at the high school. Kindergarten para, because the elimination of a kindergarten classroom, they have paras there. School psychologists, we cannot find a school psychologist. We've needed 2 in the last 3 years. We found 1, and someone recently said, I do hold my license as a school psych, and I will do what I need to do to help the district out, and I will do both the team leader position and a school psych for some of the grades because I know that we're in hard times. All school years, well, they're 0.5. School years, 0.5 secretaries will be gone. There will be 1 secretary in each of the buildings, except the high school. So that means this 0.5 CSS school year, the 0.5 SRE, the 0.5 Chestnut Hill, and the 0.5 at Jabesh Brook. So that means increased call, greeting volume, and it's going to lead to probably slower responses, and everybody just needs to be patient. And administrators are going to have to cover lunch while the secretaries go to the administrators are going to have to cover lunch for the secretaries so they can go to lunch. We will be cutting a building administrator if we close Cold Springs. We will be getting rid of a counselor at Cold Springs. We will be getting rid of a nurse at Cold Springs. We will be getting rid of a school year administrator, admin assistant, a head custodian, a PM custodian, 2 food service staff at Cold Springs. Now, you need to keep in mind that we talk about the positions, but there's bumping rights that come in that are going to bump. We're going to save on utilities at Cold Springs. We are reducing the professional development. That means that we're going to have to try and get more grants to send people to go for PD. If we don't have that ability. reduction in the quantity and availability of instructional materials, reduction in supplies. Tagil, we're saving, as I said earlier, and unfortunately, we had to put the pool closure on. We don't really use it. We do our share. We understand. We're willing to help, but that's a cost that keeps coming around and around. And I think Eric and what's his name, the rec department, Kyle, have been doing a great job working together, trying to keep that up. Sometimes it's 25,000. Sometimes we need an extra 50,000 because of that. One year we don't have it. The rec department picks it up for us. The next year we pick it up, and it's just becoming an issue. So, once again, we go back to this function description. So you can see that we have gone down to 1.99%. So that brings us to the town allocation of the $33,844,623. Grants stay the same, no matter what. They stay the same. The school choice changes a little bit. As you can see on this slide, we now have unemployment. So if we're laying off 30 plus, we have to have money for unemployment. I think we were lucky last year when we laid off Jabish people because they got certified for positions. We were able to put them in positions for 1 year. I don't think we're going to be so lucky this time around. And I think whoever this involves, that we as a school district will help you do whatever we need to do to find employment, find jobs. We hear through the grapevine. It's the least we can do for you. So with the voted amount, without the new investment, the voted amount from the school committee would be $33,844,623. The cuts of 1.636239. So, just to kind of summarize. New investment. Ensuring the continuation of most current school programs and electives. Maintaining class sizes roughly similar to today. Preserving support for students' needs by preventing 30-plus layoffs, most of which are student-facing roles. Allowing time to explore reorganization, reduction, and/or regionalization, while maintaining the current grade and school configuration. No investment. We are reducing individual support due to the elimination of 30-plus positions. That's over 10% of administrators and 10% of teaching positions. Disruption to students and families with the closure of Cold Springs and the reorganization of grade 3 and 6 in a short period of time. We are talking June, July, maybe the beginning of August. Higher class sizes, loss of world languages at JBMS, grade 5 band, reading intervention, and a loss of high school electives. Reduction in classroom supplies impacting hands-on learning and student projects. And that's all I got.
Thank you. Before I do public comment, is there any comments from the committee? No. Okay, do you have the public?
Is this when we should ask like questions about this, or are we going to do that later?
So I guess the committee will decide, do we want to talk after public comment? If we want to talk about anything we've heard, or if we want to digest anything from public comment. We're not going to be responding to comments. Do you want to have a period after public comment for us? Okay, perfect. All right, so public comment will be timed at 3 minutes each. And first on the list I have, Cheryl is good. Maria Scudera.
I brought handouts.
Thanks, Maria.
You're the one and only, Maria.
I didn't bring handouts.
Thank you.
So I think it's important. I'm Maria Scudero. I live in town. I also teach at the high school. I'm the chair of the science department. We had a reduction in our department 2 years ago, which we were able to, because of reduced student numbers and such, even though it wasn't at the best time because of the position that was eliminated, we were able to kind of keep everything going. This cut to our department is going to be devastating to the students. I'm going to have a job. The students are going to be losing. If you look on the side of the handout, these are general, these are the number of students we have coming up from the middle school currently in, so there we have 150 coming up, 150 coming into bio, 100 who will choose chemistry out of the 130 moving from sophomore to junior year. So we have to offer core courses. So we have to offer our earth science, our biology, our chemistry. Students have to pass 3 years of science in order to graduate, and they have to pass biology in order to graduate. Those are high school graduation requirements. If we have to cut a position in order to be able to maintain the number of electives required for juniors who choose not to take chemistry to get their 3rd year of science, they need to graduate. And for students who, for whatever reason, may not pass either earth science or their junior year science, we have to have electives for them in order to be able to graduate. So my proposal is going to be that we cut honors at biology, chemistry, and earth science so that we can maintain a level number of students in each of the core courses that we offer, because it's not going to be fair to students to only offer one section of honors if everyone can't get it, and it's not going to be fair to have either an overpacked honor section or an underpacked honor section, depending on how students sign up. So going forward, that's going to be my recommendation. Also, you'll see we won't be able to have AP biology. I made the call there. I think that anatomy is a more students are going into healthcare, and that really helps them as they're moving on to college. So we're going to be dropping that. We're going to be dropping a lot of electives. The science department has more students enrolled in science classes than there are in the building, which means that this is a place where students come to have meaningful courses in their schedule. So these are very real impacts as a result of the cuts.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right, so Maria was the only one who signed up on public comment. Is there anyone else who would like to speak publicly? Yes, please, if you could state your name.
Marilyn Decker. As a former science director at a number of school districts, including Boston, Milton, Keene, and New Hampshire, the cuts that were just outlined are devastating. In particular, I mean, AP alone, for many kids, is their first opportunity to experience a college-level course. It's a game changer for many kids. And the fact that they had all this wonderful enrollment, that would be devastating to lose that. I also am a strong proponent of music programs. And if you look at the top performing districts in the state, they all have strong music programs, because what kids learn through music that many kids don't understand is the harder you work, the more you practice, the better you get, even when you're talented. So I want to urge people to invest in our kids. These are two examples of things that would be really lost if we don't pass this budget.
Thank you. Any other public comments? If you would start with your name.
Bruce Officer. Yes, I just want to go through this as a quick review here that last year the school department did receive a $1 million increase over the previous year's budget. 2 years ago, you received $2 million increase over the previous year's budget. You did receive that over. I know you made cuts, but it was an increase over the years. So I don't know if you would expect that, like, next year you're going to get another $1 million increase or another $2 million increase. Somewhere this is going to come to a halt. You just can't keep jumping $2 million per year increase. There just doesn't seem to be an end to it. And another point I'd like to bring up is, like, so that you are not previously or presently supposedly at Tagil, but you are also renting outside buildings to cover that part. I don't know what this is costing you, what that amount is, but you're renting 2 bays outside of town. You put your maintenance department three miles away from the school system, which is not a good idea. So this isn't a big plus. And you talk about you're going to close Cold Spring for a savings, but you still have to maintain that building. It still has to be heated. It's still you can't just close the door and walk away from it. So you've got a lot of choices there, and that building is not a high-cost building to operate as far as maintenance, or as far as operational heating and maintenance on that building. It's not a high cost. So closing that is maybe not your solution, because you still need the spacing. You need the spacing for the kids to be into. You need to look at it. I watched the traffic flow of people going in and out of there, bringing their children to school, and the buses in and out of there. And if you take all that commotion and put it to a different school system, you're going to have a roadblock somewhere. This is not your easy solution. You have a lot of issues here to deal with that aren't going to be cured by closing that building. But I do believe you're dollar-wise, you need to come up with some kind of a different system, because you just can't keep going up $1 million, $2 million every single year. There is something wrong with your system. Thank you.
Thanks.
Cheryl Dutton, Belchertown resident. I wasn't going to talk because been at meetings for 2 weeks talking. But I do think it's important to stop false information the second you hear it. Proposition 2.5 means our taxes go up 2.5% more than what we personally paid in taxes last year, because all of our expenses go up. Just as the school department's expenses go up, the town's expenses go up, the cost of gasoline goes up. Health insurance in particular, huge, even as a family, suffering from that. All of our homeowners insurance, I know we just got our new bill, astronomical. As part of the override, it's important to fund our fire department as well, to keep our homeowners insurance down. But of course your budget is going to raise every year, because everything goes up every year. If it stayed the same every year, we would be losing more and more and more. The kids would be going to school. There'd be no teachers there someday, just to cover the other expenses. I think all of the experts that have examined all of the buildings, the Capital Improvement Committee, the town, the selectmen, everybody agrees Cold Spring School has to be closed. There's too much repairs needed. The building's outdated. There's lead paint in the building. We can keep going on to everything that happened, but Cold Spring has to close. So we all understand. We'd like for you to not have to close it in 8 weeks' time. That would be lovely. And then to do everything in a thoughtful process. I appreciate the pragmatism on the part of the school committee and the fact that you were able to bring that budget down considerably from the original ask. It was a lot of work. You were asked to bring it down. You brought it down. I think some of the stuff that happened after that, which leading to the larger override number, was a surprise. But I also think the town is working very hard to bring in revenue. And I know you're not seeing the revenue, but that doesn't mean the town's not working hard towards it. So we need to get the whole town on board in coming up with creative ways. Everybody's been welcomed to all of these drivers, the branding committee, the creative economy committee. You're welcome to participate in any public meeting if you have an idea on how to improve the economy to get more revenue in. We do have a revenue problem. but we have an obligation to the people who have no voice in how our government works. They have no voice, but it is our obligation and responsibility to educate them. And the only way out of this mess for everything is education, lifelong learning. I would love it someday if we funded education enough for adults to go back.
Thank you very much. Yes. Whitney and then Jake. Yeah, only one name was on it.
Okay. Hello, I'm Whitney Kuhnlens, Pine Street resident in Belchertown, and I'm representing myself as a resident of the town, not in my official capacity. But I wanted to take a moment, just again, I know everyone said it, but I think it's important we keep saying it to each other, thank you. This is a hard job, and you all have had a hard year. It hasn't been a hard couple of months, it's been a hard year. And I really appreciate all the work that you do for the service of our town. I also want to reiterate that I think it's so commendable that you were given a very difficult task to take a necessary budget and bring it down significantly. $500,000 is no small feat. So thank you for that. I think that's really admirable and should be recognized and applauded. I think, like everyone in this room, I believe in the value of education. There has been some rhetoric I've heard that only parents should pay a higher tax. But I think the value of an education for a town supports everyone. Everyone in this room was a child at some point, and everybody received an education and had a teacher that had some meaningful impact on their lives. And I think it's really critical that we continue to have that in our town. I thought that was really interesting just to hear some of the cuts that are proposed. If those do happen, I think that we're aware, as somebody who's worked my entire career in higher education, this could reduce possibilities for elite institutions for students. AP courses are critical for high-achieving students. A well-rounded elective education is critical. A music education, in addition to it being fun and a reason why kids go to school, it also teaches skills that are aligned with physics and science. And myself, I was also a member of the Triumph Music Society, and I also started as a vocal performance major, but don't ask me to sing. I also want to say that I do deeply believe in our town. I think that we have amazing services. I'm very proud of this town, and I'm very proud of the work that we're doing and that we are growing. And yes, revenue is small, but we are laying seeds that are growing. So I do want to support our town services also. The Capital Improvement Committee that's coming forward, I think that they have incredible recommendations and hard recommendations that will take time, and I believe in them also. And I want to also say, in addition to all of these investments of education, town services, capital improvement, I want to invest in our relationships. We talk about how wonderful it is to live in this town and to be a citizen of this town, and I want to be able to show that openly to anyone who visits this town. So I want to invest in our infrastructure, in our kids, and I want to invest in each other, and I hope that we can start that today. So this 2.5 override is larger than we expected, but I believe it's a valuable investment, and I want us all to seriously consider that everything that's going to be brought forward is worth our time, it's worth our money, it's worth our vote, and I would ask that everyone invests. We need a pay increase as a town. It's been 33 years. Let's give ourselves a raise, and I would vote yes. So thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Jake Holsberg, resident, and it's really more a message for us here because we're the people who show up and care, and there's people at home who show up and care, but if you're in this room on Thursday, there's a 6:30 select board listening event where they haven't made up their full, according to the website anyways, haven't made up their minds. And if there was ever a great moment to say, we want our schools fully funded because we don't want this to happen, that's a great time to do it because our school committee can say, this is our budget. But the select board, they're the ones who say, here's the money. So we got to talk to the money people now. And I just hope everyone who can show up here and who's online is willing to get there too, because they really need to know we care about school. And to those teachers who this impacts, I've been there, and I think a bunch of parents would agree, like, we're sorry. And there are a lot of them fighting to make sure that you get level funding and willing to like get out and knock on doors and hand out flyers. There's a bunch of people who are ready and waiting to make that happen. And so we're going to need a little bit of help.
Thank you. High school? Any other folks want a public comment? Yeah, if you are online and would like to speak publicly, if you could please turn on your camera so we can see you. I learned in COVID not to stop them too quickly, because sometimes it takes a while to unmute or camera. Okay, with that, last chance in the room. All right, so I'm going to close the public comment period, and the committee can discuss. Anything here? No. Natalie, what's your thoughts?
I have a lot. First, I appreciate everybody who's come to these meetings and who have spoken, and whether it be as a parent, as a teacher, thank you guys also for trying to help us get our children's education better, plain and simply. It's frustrating with everything. I hope that a lot of people are active online. I hope they're active when it comes time to actually voting and helping in that way itself. It was really disheartening to see all of the potential cuts that could happen, and I don't want to have to think about that, but obviously it's a possibility and whatnot. But I think just a little bit, any more transparency for teachers or for special education or special teachers that can happen. I think we should give them as much as we can and let them know what we know and just kind of go from there.
Perfect.
But thank you, everyone, for coming.
Amy?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. So we looked at the average class size increases, what the impact would be without the new investment. And so, Brian, can you remind me, what are the recommended ratios for DESE?
We have a policy that we set a few years ago, and I think we're already above that.
Hold on. Just give me a sec. I
Just
have it.
to have it on record.
Yeah. Go on to your next question,
Okay.
and I'll.
Well, you had also mentioned, and I know people have asked about closing central office versus Cold Spring in the moment. Have we looked, and I know there's some talk about that, have we looked any more into that possibility, and would that be an easier transition than Cold Spring first?
I don't
I'm asking
really-
the loaded questions.
Oh, yeah.
So I can tell you what I found out about that. That closure would require significant construction costs
Okay.
to the high school, because people have to be able to get
Access.
into central office, but then they can't just free willy-nilly go into the high school. So in the conversations that I had with it, we'd have that closing savings, but then we'd have a construction cost, so.
I just wasn't sure if there was any more definitive numbers with that or anything.
No, I think, Amy, if I may, my thought on that process is it would really depend on what happens with the regionalization study. Because if we're going to regionalize and we use the high
Maybe that
school,
space.
we may not have that space. So,
Okay.
just thinking. And if sixth grade, if we make the transition to close Cold Spring, sixth grade would be at Javish, so there's not room within our current buildings. I don't know if there's any room in some other town buildings that we could move into. So that was the thought on that.
Do you have other questions besides that?
I have a comment, I guess.
Okay,
maybe.
go ahead.
So obviously knew that cuts would be impactful, but thank you for this handout. I'm trying to contain my rage about something like this. I came from a really poor school district in New Jersey. We had one AP class. It was calculus, and nobody ever passed the exam. So I know that struggle of trying to get into an elite school system. and we had very few students that did that. Over time, that school district got more funding, got those AP programs, and we do have better placement than we did. Seeing this, I feel nauseous. Knowing that so many cuts would come to sciences, and that this is where our students are learning to find what they want to do in life. So cutting honors biology, honors chemistry, I mean, not even AP, we're talking about just the honors program, which without that, I don't know, I would have been where I ended up. So I'm just trying to, not to get too emotional about this, but it's really, really disheartening.
And I just want to say, not that I respect Maria and will probably take her lead on this, but I think it's a conversation that Maria, myself, Chris have to, have, because as she stated, the recommendations, and it may be her recommendations,
Sure.
but this is the first that I'm hearing about that too, and I trust Maria, but, I think too, we got to follow up and say, okay, what's
Absolutely.
happening type thing.
Yeah. But
And she's the expert, so we have to kind of see what's there. But we knew that when we cut the positions, that we were going to have to cut some, classes at the high school. I think it's a conversation, more of a conversation that the building principal, myself, the department heads all have to discuss and say, what's the best thing to meet a number of student needs.
Right. I guess, we have a lot of obviously needed special education resources that go towards that. There's the other end of the spectrum, and those gifted kids, the kids that need more stimulation, need more work, that's where the cuts are going to happen, and that's equally as damaging to those kids.
I agree.
On a better note, how about those ratios, Brian?
Yeah, I'm trying to find them. You sent them to me?
I mean, I can't imagine that 1 to 27 is recommended.
Is it okay if I open it up?
It's on your phone.
It's on my phone.
Is it okay if I open it?
Okay, this is the policy.
Thanks, Sean, for having his back.
Okay, so kindergarten, 15 to 18, grades 1 to 3, 16 to 20, 4 to 6, 18 to 22, 7 to 8, 20 to 22, and the high school, 22 to 24.
So significantly increased.
Can you put up the slide that you had
Slide 19. Can you put up 19?
Yeah.
Right, so the recommendation's 18 to 22 for fourth grade, and we would be at 27.
26 is big.
Fourth, fifth, and sixth. 27, 26, 26.
Does anybody need those numbers again? Go ahead, Brian.
So K is 15 to 20, 15 to 18. Grades 1 to 3 are 16 to 20. 4 to 6 is 18 to 22. 7 and 8 is 20 to 22, and BHS is 22 to 24. And it's a little bit harder to do the high school and JBISH because of course selections and all of that. But I want to make it clear, too. We cannot close Cold Springs without making these cuts.
Okay. Amy, were you all good?
That's a loaded question.
Okay. Are you good with speaking right
for
now?
now.
All right. Ruby?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. It's devastating to look at, the impacts that these potential cuts are going to have. I appreciate all the work that Brian's done and that we have done to bring our override ask number down. I would encourage anyone who hasn't watched the select board meeting from last night to watch and have a better understanding of what's being discussed and what's being put forward, and definitely attend on Thursday and share your feedback. Yeah, I mean, I'm concerned about all of it, language, science, music. It's, my kids have enjoyed a phenomenal education here, and I feel like we owe it to all the students to continue that. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to look at what we're proposing.
Yeah. So the first thing I want to say, last night in the select board meeting, and this happened after Brian made this presentation, but I want to be clear on the pool that the town said they could take it over. So if this override doesn't happen, the cost to use the pool will increase significantly. Is that right?
Correct.
But the pool will still be open at least for the next fiscal year. Okay? And I also, Bruce, I need to address this just because the money keeps going up, and that's something that's concerned you for several years. Just the health insurance alone is more than what the town can give us. Like, I don't know what we could cut. I can't stop offering health insurance. That's not an option, right? Teachers already, it was a very struggle when the town changed the ratio. So even changing that would be really difficult for a lot of people. So the schools have gotten less than inflation every year. Yes, we've gotten more than previous years, but we've gotten less than inflation. And now we're at this point where we have to lose a lot of these things. Closing Cold Spring School is kind of a double-edged sword, because closing the school saves money, but in order to close the school, we have to lose all these positions, which is going to save money too. And I don't want to have to do that this year if I can help it. I want to plan it and thoughtfully figure out how this is going to work. I want to prepare children. Right now, there's a whole bunch of preschool children that are expecting to go to Cold Spring in September, and if on the first day of school they just show up to Swift River, they're going to be so lost. Like, it's going to be a whole different world for them. And so ultimately, yes, I would like to see Cold Spring School close, but this year I think that that's going to be really difficult in a lot of different ways. So, okay. Any other thoughts or feelings? So if you have opinions on things and want to get in touch with us, in all honesty, where we are right now is we're kind of stuck in this holding pattern. We're not sure which way the budget is going to go. But if you have thoughts and opinions and things that you want to share, please feel free to email us. We are scheduled to vote on this. What's the date?
April 15th.
April 15th. We will be voting on these budgets to move forward to town meeting. And so let us know by then if there's thoughts that you have. We would love to share them. Anything else?
Yeah, I just want to say, too, that I don't want to speak for the committee, but I don't think any of us up here are saying that we don't foresee Cold Springs closing. We've always talked about it. There's a large group at Chestnut Hill, the larger class sizes, as you can see. You know, the 27th, the 26th, we are trying to get them through Chestnut Hill, then they're at Jabesh, and then it would be a lot easier to do it. So we knew that, we understood that, but to get to the number, we had to kind of say, okay, this is what we're doing now. I am not going to stand up here and tell you that we haven't lost students. Our class sizes, we've had low numbers, kindergarten coming in, first grade, but we wanted to get those, the 27, the 26, that bubble group out. So when you cut a teacher in each of those grades, then they're the ones getting the 27, the 26. It's a little easier when you go to Jabesh because you're scheduling and they're spread out. So I don't want people to walk away saying, at least from my perspective, that he doesn't want to close Cold Springs. I just want to do it at the right time. It seems, you know, everybody has an opinion, and that's okay. And it's going to be what it's going to be. But, and to someone's question about, I think it was Natalie, about the SPED teachers and kind of telling people, everybody has been notified if it's affecting them. So we will keep them in the loop.
So I think it was more of a confusion almost for physical education. Like some being told like Swift is gonna go help at Jabish, and then Jabish being told, no, we're gonna, they're confused. They're not entirely sure what's
Well, we're not
actually
Yeah,
the
we're not
case.
sure yet until we know if Cold Springs is staying open or it's not. If it's not, there's going to need to be extra specials at Jabish Brook to do the larger size. And if Cold Springs stays, it will be Cold Springs.
So they'll be going to one or the other.
One or the other. Just like we had a nurse retire today. So the nurse we told that she wasn't going to have a job yesterday or on Friday now has a job. So it's continuously changing. We're trying to keep people up to date.
Printing you something.
Aliens. So we're trying our best to keep people up to date, and so they're in the loop.
So it's occurred to me at this point, Amy and Natalie weren't there last night. And I don't know how many of you were there last night or saw, but the select board had a marathon meeting last night. Kudos to you. They kind of allocated what was going to go to schools and different town departments. And Ruby is an amazing note taker. So Ruby's going to read for us what it
So
is.
just the discussion last night about a total number for the override. So the schools have requested $1,636,236. And Steve, please correct me if I have my numbers wrong here. The total town budget override number is $1,157,732. $500,000 was requested for capital, for a total override request of $3,293,968. So that was what was voted on last night at the select board meeting.
And there is allocations towards different departments in town, fire, police. It's not just going willy-nilly. So watch the meeting tomorrow or watch the meeting from last night if you're interested in how that rolled out. All right, with that, I am looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Seconded by Amy. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, we're done.
Thank you for coming.
We needed that.